Hey friends, welcome back. Mom Encouragement Monday. It's late. It's Monday evening. Because we've had a busy day. My daughter is doing baseball practice on Monday nights now for 2 hours. So I just got the kids down. And my son, my youngest boy, he's turning 3 tomorrow. I can't believe it's his birthday. I cannot believe my youngest kid is 3 years old. So crazy. I've been in this stage of having baby after baby after baby for so long that it's weird not having a baby. So it's kind of cool, but I'm up late making a cake for him so that he'll have that in the morning. But for Mom Encouragement Monday, I wanted to talk about friendship, specifically mom friendships. One of the things that I hear the most, like when I go and speak to moms, when I ask women if they want me to pray for them about something, maybe just a comment in passing, a lot of the time I hear women say, I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone. You know, I'm married. I've got my kids that consume my time, but I don't have any friends. I feel very lonely. And I think that a lot of us can sympathize with that. I think a lot of us have been there. I know I certainly have. I've spent a lot of the baby years thinking I'm just in this on my own. I'm all by myself. I'm all alone. I don't have any friends. But even though it seems to be kind of the norm, I don't think that we should just accept that as our reality and just go through life being lonely. I don't think that that's a good idea either, because we're made for relationships, and our husbands can't be everything to us, and our children can't be everything to us. We need to have girlfriends, and I think it's important. And so this last week I realized something, and I've kind of been mulling over this, talking about this idea of mom friendships for the past week or so. And one of my sweetest friends right now in this stage of my life just happened by chance, and it just happened very organically. And so several years ago I signed up my kids to start in gymnastics at one of the local gymnastics places, and we've hopped around from different gymnastics classes, but this past year we've been in the homeschool group gymnastics class. And this other mom also brings her daughters and sons to this gymnastic class. So everybody kind of has a buddy. Her oldest and my oldest are both girls, and they kind of get along. And then our 2 oldest boys are the same age, and they get along. And then our 2 youngest boys are the same age, and they get along. And so it kind of grew from there. Like, our kids liked playing with each other while we were at gymnastics. And so we started talking, and it started out as just basic chit chat, like, you know, the weather and that kind of stuff. But as we spent time together on a weekly basis, the talks got deeper, and feelings got involved, and emotions got involved, and trust was born because of that. Because we were kind of seeing each other on a weekly basis, we had an hour to spend together. We talked about things, and when you are vulnerable with somebody and they receive you and say, I acknowledge you, I hear you, and they're then in return vulnerable back, you know, trust is built, and that is where a friendship is born. And this past week she had us over to her house, and right there, then and there, I was like, we're friends. We have to be friends. We've got to be friends for life, because I come with 5 crazy kids. So anybody who invites me or agrees to go anywhere with me is like golden in my book, because we are not, we're a spectacle. We're the party. We show up. We're like, it's ridiculous. So she had us to her house and fed us lunch, and our kids played, and we got to chit chat. And I just kind of looking back, like as I was leaving, thinking about what a sweet friend she was. Looking back, I didn't start taking my kids to gymnastics because I needed a friend. I did need a friend. I was in a place where I needed a friend. I needed somebody to spend time with. I needed somebody to say, I see you, I agree with you, I hear you, You are totally valid in this situation. You're loved. I needed that, but that's not why I took my kids to gymnastics. I took my kids to gymnastics because I wanted them to learn gymnastics. My point is, I think that mom friendships are hard because we're in a hard stage of life when we have littles. It's very busy. It's very kind of self-centered, and I don't mean that in like a selfish way, but these little people need you 24/7, that it's really hard for you to look up and out to anything else. And so it's very easy to get isolated and secluded in young mom life. And so I think mom friendships need to really happen organically. Like I said, I didn't go to gymnastics looking for a friend, but I gained a friend from it. And so I think one of my greatest pieces of advice for Mom Encouragement Monday on this topic of friendship is you have to put yourself in a place to meet people. It's almost kind of like mom dating, right? Like, I can't stay in my house all day with my kids and not look up and out and think I'm going to make a friend. I'm not. You know, nobody's going to knock on my door and say, I need a friend. Will you be my friend? You know, like, you have to be out there. You have to be out there, which means you also have to kind of open yourself up and be vulnerable and not be on your phone all the time and not be kind of like in this tunnel vision. Like, you have to look up and out. Which is what happened through going to gymnastics. Our pastor this past week is talking about his new series is on restoring relationships, but he had a lot of great points that I actually related to mom friendships. Like, instead of like restoring relationships, like creating mom friendships. He said things like, sin separates, offense separates. So when we have somebody that we're getting to know and we're being a little bit vulnerable and they're being vulnerable with us, and we're kind of like testing the waters, like, is she going to receive me? Is she going to judge me? Is she going to stop talking to me? Is she going to like who I am? When we get offended by something they say, it separates us right there. It stops the friendship from going any deeper. I have had this happen, and I have a friend who she's a sweet, sweet friend, and I love her dearly, but she said something to me once years ago that was really hurtful. I don't even think she knew that it was hurtful. It was really hurtful, and it put kind of like a wall between us. I put the wall, instead of me saying, you know, can you clarify that? Because that really hurt my feelings. Instead of like talking to her about it right then and there, I got offended and I put up a wall. And even though we are still friends, that wall is still a little bit there. And I'm sad about that, because I think I could have handled it better. So my point is, when we become offended by people and we, instead of being vulnerable and saying, you know, that hurt my feelings, or let's talk about this a little bit more, when we become offended and we put up the walls, the trust is broken and the friendship is stopped there. You can't grow any deeper when that offense is kind of like lingering in the air. When those hurt feelings are kind of lingering in the air and it's not being talked about and it hasn't been resolved, it doesn't allow for a deeper relationship. The other thing he said was, he was talking about genuine love, genuinely loving other people. He said a way to know if it's a genuine love or a hypocritical love is who benefits most in the relationship. If the other person is benefiting most, then it's a genuine love. If you are benefiting most, then it's a hypocritical love. And I love this too, for not necessarily just restoring relationships, but mom friendships too. Like, I want my friends to benefit most from me. I don't want to be the one benefiting from them. I want to be pouring out as much as I have to give. My home and my husband and my children are my number one ministry. But what I have left over, I want to give to the people around me that I love, and try to love the people around me. And so I think that's a good way to look at it. If you're feeling very lonely, have you put yourself out there? Have you tried being vulnerable? And the thing with being vulnerable is you'll probably get your heart broken, because that's just the way it works. Like, you might be a little bit vulnerable with somebody and they're like, too much. I'm not trying to go there. I'm just trying to talk about the weather, and that's okay. Maybe that's just not your person. I had a friend once tell me she wanted 4 quarters, not 100 pennies, right? She just wants like a handful of really good friends that are worth a lot instead of a whole lot of people that aren't worth much. And so when you're a little bit vulnerable with somebody and they don't kind of return that vulnerability, then maybe that person's just a penny and not one of your quarters, and that's okay. But the thing is, you have to try to be a little bit vulnerable. And then once you're kind of getting to that place where you're building that trust, is that person benefiting? Like, are you constantly the person that controls the conversation? Are you constantly the person who is taking? And I admit I've been a bad friend in the past. I've been a person who constantly took from people. I've been a person who constantly controlled the conversation. And in those situations, those relationships didn't grow any deeper because I wasn't giving enough. I was only taking. And friendships, especially when we're all in these hard times, we're all struggling in one capacity or another, we have to be able to do the give and take thing, if that makes sense. And then the other thing he said, which he said before that I really love, is love requires a sacrifice. And I think that's really true. Like, think about loving your husband. Think about loving your children. I mean, we sacrifice so much for our husbands and our children, and we're going to have to sacrifice for our friends too if we genuinely love them. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, actually, to sacrifice for our friends, because I can't think of anything better than encouraging somebody in their walk, in their specific journey. You know, our journeys don't have to look identical for us to have a deep relationship, have a good friend, have a trusting friendship. We can have very different journeys, very different lifestyles, very different beliefs, and still genuinely love each other. And so I think when you recognize that you're making a sacrifice for somebody else and that they are also making a sacrifice for you, I think that's where trust again is deepened and friendships are made. And so I don't know, that's a little tidbit of what I was thinking about for friendships, and I'm just thankful for the people that God has put in my life that I didn't even realize what I was walking into when I walked into it. And I pray that if you are feeling lonely and you are feeling like you need a friend, that you will have one of those God moments soon where He puts somebody in your place. And I pray that you don't miss it, because it's easy to do. It's easy to miss God moments when we have lots of littles running around and when we're consumed with our own stuff, and that's completely understandable. I heard a speaker say once, whatever is in my hands is what I get to do. And I've never forgotten it, because I was in a place, when I heard it, I was in a place of feeling very like lonely, and like my life was all about I was just like a vessel for children. Like all I was doing was birthing babies and feeding them and making sure their diapers were clean, and like that was what was in my hands. I didn't have the white space on my calendar for anything else to be put into my hands. But now that my children are a little bit older, I'm no longer nursing, I'm no longer birthing babies, I can kind of hold other things in my hands. I'm at a place where I can kind of look up and out a little bit more, which is really cool. So if you're in a place where you're feeling lonely and you're feeling like all that's in your hands is babies and is diapers and is just kind of like being consumed with the home stuff, I want to encourage you that there will be a day where you are going to be able to look up and out, and that you will be able to hold other things in your hands, and that day is coming. And to just try to enjoy what is in your hands at the time, because what she said was whatever is in your hands is what you get to do, not what you have to do. You know, you don't have to change these babies, you don't have to birth these babies, you don't have to nurse the baby. You get to do those things. That's a privilege and a blessing. I think words are important, and they can change our outlook on things even when our situation hasn't changed, but using different words and verbiage can change how we feel about a situation. So anyway, I've kind of went off on a tangent there that I wasn't expecting to talk about. But that's my encouragement, Mom Encouragement Monday. I'm hoping, really enjoyed going to the mom scoops and talking, and I'm enjoying like this idea of friendship, like mom friendships, because it is a common theme, and so I'm hoping to like maybe dive a little bit deeper into that, and maybe be able to go and talk to some mom groups about it. But anyway, I hope your week is going well, and my calendar, I put out there's a lot of open dates in April on Facebook, and my calendar filled up. So for whatever reason, I think April is a hard month for people. So I've got a lot of prayer requests in April, but there's never too many prayer requests. So if you have something that you need me to pray over, I'm more than happy to do that. I have really enjoyed stepping up into this kind of praying over my friends. I don't know, it's not a job. I don't want to say ministry. I don't know. I've just enjoyed praying over people, and apparently April is a hard month. I hope May is not as hard for people, but anyway, all right, I'll see you later.